Yo, Sports Talk, worldwide, with some news from the world of boxing, so y'all know what time it is. You ain't in a rush to get concussed. Now, everybody checking out what's going on with Ruiz, the real King Kong Ortiz, right? Heavyweight contender, highly ranked heavyweight. As a matter of fact, a heavyweight that we all know that if some of the, these other dudes would beat him, then they would get a lot of credit for beating this guy. A lot of people don't want to fight him over the years, and he can be avoided. And it's really funny how bad it is. Now, I talk about Ruiz the Real King Kong Ortiz all the time, so there might not be anything new for these kind of people that watch me from time to time. You've probably heard all of these things before. But Ruiz the Real King Kong Ortiz is one of the most avoided people in boxing. He's a Negro League fighter. I have a few fighters that I consider to be Negro Leagues, and the reason I call them Negro League fighters is because they're avoided, and the media helps them be avoided. They make sure to not talk about them as less as possible, right? And all of these fighters that I'm talking about are fighters that the more popular fighters that are out there, if they would fight these people, like I've said before, when they do their ring walk, the commentator will say, this fighter is arguably the toughest fight this guy has ever had. And then another commentator going to say, scratch that. He is the hardest fighter he's ever faced. You know what I mean? This is what Ruiz Ortiz would be. If Anthony Joshua fought him, if Tyson Fury fought him, right? If Dillian White finally fought him, stuff like that. But it just won't happen. And he's ranked higher than most of these guys. I seen a article about a tournament. The heavyweights are back into a kind of a tournament. And they had a picture of Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder, Andy Ruiz Jr., Alexander Usyk, and Dillian White. And, Ortiz is ranked higher than Dillian White and or Andy Ruiz Jr., right? But they just, conveniently ignore this guy. Now, Dillian White has avoided him on several occasions, right? He was mandated to fight this guy from the WBC, and he just said no, and the WBC just let it go, right? And then Dillian starts screaming about Deontay Wilder all the time, and then, Deontay Wilder said, hey, just fight Ortiz and you'll get me guaranteed. He said no. So, and Ortiz has come out of late. He said when Povetkin wasn't sure that Povetkin could fight Dillian White in the second fight, and Dillian White said a few names, he whispered Ortiz's name last. Ortiz said, hey, I'm here, I'll come to England right away. And then nothing never happened. Every time Ortiz offers his services, nothing never happened. Remember Andy Ruiz Jr. fought Chris Arreola? Right? Who was at the fight? Ruiz the Real King Ortiz to fight Andy Ruiz Jr. Andy Ruiz Jr., which we'll get to in a second, ain't really said nothing back. Don't want to have him. Dillian White, you know what he wanted? Who he wanted to fight from that? He wanted to fight Chris Arreola, the one who lost the fight to Andy Ruiz Jr., and not the guy, Ortiz, who's ranked higher. And matter of fact, Ortiz and Dillian White is a mega fight. In England, it'll sell out any place, anywhere in England, right? But bottom line is, Ruiz the Real King Kong Ortiz has come out and said, among other things, one is, I can't get Dillian White. He's just straight up scared. He's been scared for the last 4 or 5 years. And he said, when it comes to Andy Ruiz Jr., you're saying that you're not ready for me, talking about Ruiz the Real King Kong Ortiz, but you want Joshua right now. Because people are telling Joshua, Usyk is too small. Like Ortiz offered the service to Joshua last week. I just didn't do a video about it. He said, hey, Usyk is too small. You can fight me in a real fight. Right? He's a little bit too small. You're going to beat him, but you fight me. Joshua didn't answer, of course. Same thing he said to Dillian White. He doesn't answer, of course. Right? So, it is what it is. But I'm going to tell you something about these Negro League fighters. Right? They need to be given awards. Right? Like Ruiz the Real King Kong Ortiz should be given the award of the most avoided fighter, definitely in the heavyweight division, if not all of boxing. But it's the problem with that is there's other Negro League fighters. And like people that, if you think I'm just saying Negro League this, Negro League that, look, I mention the fighters I'm talking about off my head every time. If you're talking heavyweight, Deontay Wilder, Michael Hunter, and definitely Ruiz the Real King Kong Ortiz, he's the chairman. Middleweight is Demetrius Andrade, to a lesser extent, but also Charlo. Right? You go in the Terrence Crawford is in welterweight. Definitely. Negro League fighter. Everybody knows how awesome he is, and there's all kind of excuses why we don't fight him. People want astronomical money, and everybody's fighting around him. We can't sell Terrence Crawford. Yeah, you can't sell him because there's nobody that's going to beat him. And they understand that. So it has to be this element, especially a guy of color, that somebody that's not of color is going to beat Terrence Crawford. Right? That element doesn't exist. We keep saying, well, Carol Crawford can't sell himself. Bob Arum, and it's not Bob Arum's fault. He's like, can't sell because he's not losing. Right? But we can't say, what is Crawford supposed to do? Shoot, all the people that's supposed to be selling don't even speak English. So what the hell are we trying to tell him to something? At least he can speak English. All them Canelos of the world, Golovkin couldn't speak no English, Kovalev either, Lomachenko neither, right? Roman Gonzalez neither, none of that. Right? So what the hell? Why so a brother that speaks English, he can't sell? No, because we know he ain't getting beat. And we need that element of, can somebody not of color beat this guy? Period. So that's what's up with Terrence Crawford. So he's not selling. Forget selling. He's just, I send the best people and I'll beat them up. That's all a boxer needs to do. All that selling stuff. What is that all about? Right? And it's a lie. Because the other guys don't even speak. Right? We had a run-up to the Canelo Kovalev, and the whole damn run-up to we had subtitles. The whole run-up. So back off with that. That's a lot of BS, and people fall for it all the time. But and the other Negro League fighters, Devin Haney, Guillermo Rigondeaux, fighters that's just awesome, and people are just doing crazy stuff to avoid them. Lomachenko going to get a franchise title to avoid Devin Haney. Then Teofimo Lopez beats him. He wants to be undisputed. No, I'd rather just say I'm undisputed with this franchise title instead of beating up the only 22-year-old Devin Haney. Ryan Garcia beats up Luke Campbell and just say, oh, well, I'll fight anybody else, man. I called Doma up. He's on his way, right? Because I definitely ain't fighting Devin Haney. I'm the mandatory to fight him, and I ain't doing that. So this is what's going on with Luis the Real King Kong Ortiz. And it's just the fact of the matter is this. Anybody that's a heavyweight top 10, top 15 fighter, your profile goes way up. It goes through the roof if you beat Luis the Real King Kong Ortiz. And I mean the very best guys. Tyson Fury said he's high risk, low reward. He doesn't want him. Anthony Joshua's mandatory, and they finagled that around. I'm not going to get into it because people understand that now. If you found me, you know enough about boxing to know he was AJ's mandatory, and they finagled him with the Klitschko thing, right? And they, he supposed to have got AJ. AJ don't want nothing to do with the guy. No one would say this guy's name. And that shouldn't be able to exist in boxing, but it always does. And that's the Negro League fighters, just like the Negro League baseball in the day. Did we think that only the white dudes from America were the best baseball players? Is that what we thought? If that would be the case, that would be what's up right now. People come from Dominican Republic and Japan, Shohei Ohtani and them boys, and all kind of other places, Cuba and everywhere. Everybody can play some damn baseball, but it was only a white league. Bad brothers over there, Satchel Paige and all them, couldn't even get in the league. You see what I'm saying? And this is what this is. It's like we're not letting them fight, and we definitely ain't going to talk about them so people won't know who the hell is being avoided. And that's why, I talk boxing. It's not my favorite sport because I don't consider it sport anymore. To me, it's the WWE. But things like this are important for people to say, right? Because somebody out there that's a casual fan that's just a casual fan and doesn't know this. It's very important that you enlighten them and they can go Google what you're talking about and find out, damn, that old gap-toothed ugly dude is right. Yes, he is. Doma Sports Talk, worldwide. And I'm about to here, y'all.